Casio, you need to confirm. I need to know what's happening with my audio. Please tell me. It's voice texting. I don't know why that is, and I can't hear anybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, Mr. Juan, how do I deactivate the transcript option, please? Casio, are you the one who activated transcripts? You're the one who activated. I don't need a transcript, please. You're the one who activated transcript, Casio, from your end. Please disconnect my transcript.
You need you.
I do not need a transcript, Casio. I can't hear anything. Please, I can't hear anything. Disconnect every transcript. Webinars are not done using transcripts, please.
Hello, yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I need to be able to test my microphone, Casio. I don't know what you're doing on your end. I can't hear anyone and no one is hearing me. It is busy typing. This is not from my Zoom setting. It is from your Zoom setting because I just got out of a Zoom call now. I just had a Zoom call about 10 minutes ago. Please, I don't know what options and what exactly it is you have tampered with on the settings. I can't hear anyone and no one is hearing me. What's the issue now? Leave the people to do their work now.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you, Casio.
You're altering the entire settings of Zoom. You're altering the entire settings. I just got off a Zoom webinar right now. I just finished one. You're altering the entire settings of Zoom. I can't hear them and they can't hear me. Why are we using transcript? But why did you even set transcript in the first place? Yesterday we had a meeting. There was nothing. Why did you bring up transcripts? So why am I not hearing anybody? Because I just got off a Zoom meeting right now. I can't hear you guys and you guys are not hearing me. If I can't hear you, then that's from your end. Because we had a Zoom meeting yesterday and I could hear you. I just told you, if I can't hear you, it is from your end. I'm not taking responsibility. If I can't hear you guys, it is from your end. We'll proceed like that. Hello?
We can hear you.
I'm going to start at exactly 3. And if I don't hear anybody, I'll just be talking and going. I really don't care. Yes, please. So why am I not hearing you guys?
Yeah, we're hearing.
No.
Hello? Mr. Joan, please, could you hear me?
Yeah,
You can hear me clearly now, right?
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I sincerely apologize for the mishap. We're starting in exactly 10 minutes. Your video is very well. Your audio is equally very well. So
Yep.
just a moment, please.
Okay.
Okay. I'm wondering how many speakers we have here. Hi, Cassio. I need to be sure still that you can hear me clearly. Please respond. Hello? Cassio, can you hear me, please? Cassio, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Juan. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yep.
Hi, Mr. Juan. I was
Hi.
just wondering, questions. Yeah, you got the questions, right?
Yeah. I received them.
Okay. So the questions for today will be focused on natural resource management in Africa and, of course, finance. So I don't know. I was wondering, I was going to ask you if you've ever visited the continent of Africa. Like, have you ever been here? I'm just curious.
Yeah, actually, no. I mean, I haven't been there yet.
Okay. Never been to Africa, but you've heard so much about Africa, I presume.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I was supposed to travel actually probably by the end of last year, but unfortunately, we started with the pandemic. So yeah, uh, I wasn't able to go, but yeah, probably next year.
Okay. Okay, that works. That's absolutely fine. So we're just waiting for the other speakers. I think they're about to join. I don't know why the controller. I, First of all, I sincerely apologize that I screamed. I've been under a whole lot of pressure of trying to put this event together.
Yeah,
So
don't worry.
I'm sure we'll be able to have a good event today. So we're just waiting for the other speakers to join, and at about exactly 3 p.m. would begin. So ordinarily, the webinar is supposed to run for about 3 hours. That's the allotted time for 3 hours. But yesterday we ended at about an hour 59 minutes. That's approximately 2 hours. So today as well, we might be rescheduling to about 2 hours. It just depends on the feedback we get from participants and of course, the engagement with speakers. But it won't be less than an hour and it won't be more than 2 hours. I just thought to inform you about that.
Okay, approximately how many people are we expecting?
Okay, we're expecting 2 more people.
Okay.
Toba and Derek and Zabi.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Madam Toba.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Madam. How about Mr. Derek?
He was coming all right. Let me just check on him.
No. I haven't had any communication with him. Everything has been via email. I just sent him an email. I sent him an email before the program began. I thought you were directly in touch with him. Okay, but we'll begin at exactly 3. So we have about 5 more minutes. At exactly 3 p.m. we'll begin.
Chair, I have logged in through the email that I sent you. So maybe if you could try that, it might work, please.
So, Madam Toba, how are you? How is South Africa?
South Africa is beautiful. We have the best weather and we've got the best view.
I've been there a few times. I've been to Cape Town, yes. I've been to Cape Town, I've been to Joburg, I've been to Soweto.
Well, this is where I am. That's exactly where I am, Soweto.
Wow. Rich culture, rich African culture. But I just wanted to catch up with you real quick. I hope the questions are fine by you. You can comment on them, right?
Yes, I've got all them. I've got all of them lined up.
Okay, that's great. It works.
Oh gosh. Power off. Okay, let's see if at all we can catch up with Derek.
Okay, we are good to begin. Okay, Madam, is Derek online? Would he join us after we have begun? Because I've been told there's some people joining from Facebook and from YouTube as well.
Okay.
Okay, I'm saying we can begin. I think Derek can join while we begin because we have to start at exactly 3 p.m. And right now it's just 1 minute to 3. I need to begin at exactly 3. He can join us as the program begins, as the program continues. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, on behalf of the organizing committee, on behalf of the organizing platform, African Local Content Focus Initiative, ALCFI, who are tasked with the mandate of raising funds for projects that are hydrocarbons related, oil and gas related, and energy related. I would like to welcome you all to the 2021 edition of the African Forum on Finance, Economy, and Compliance, FAFEC. This happens to be the third edition of the program, and of course, I am more than excited to have you all join us. To our guests and viewers joining us from Facebook, from YouTube, just like I've been informed, I would like to say a very good afternoon to each and every one of you from Sub-Saharan Africa, precisely Nigeria. Yesterday was groundbreaking. We did speak with our very distinguished panelists. We had an array of guests, and the subject was on project financing across West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, North Africa, of course, the entire continent of Africa. Today, we are focused on natural resource management. How can we possibly manage natural resources in Africa? Africa is rich with, a vast amount of abundance of natural resources, from hydro, which is water, to land, natural resource, sunlight, to oil, to gas. I can go on and on. But the question is, why has Africa not been able to maximize to the greatest of its potentials all of these resources that are abundant and inherent on the continent? Today, we do have an array of very distinguished speakers who would be doing justice to this subject. There are people who have excelled tremendously in their different fields. In no particular order, I would first and foremost like to introduce the keynote speaker. The keynote speaker is someone who has a proven track record in leadership, in providing leadership and instructional resources. She's innovative, she's creative, and she's goal-driven with success in all she does. She has successfully completed different phases of marketing and brand management projects, promotions, advertising, sales, strategic public relations, government, media, liaison operations. The keynote speaker serves in various organizations on executive levels and as board member of various chambers of commerce across West Africa, across Africa to be precise, and Southern Africa. Now she is an affiliate. She's an affiliate of Women in Tourism South Africa. She's an affiliate of the World Green Nature. She's an affiliate of the African Crusade Social Entrepreneurs. She's an affiliate of Exquisite Face of the Universe. She's equally a member of Vincent Shabala Education Trust. She's a member of Soweto Community Revitalization. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, the very keynote speaker I would like to introduce is Madam Toba Carl Hala. Thank you very much for joining us and welcome to the program, Madam.
Thank you, Ophia Samuel, and it's an pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you very much. So, Madam Toba Halal is the keynote speaker for today. Of course, she's the co-founder and engineering. Madam Toba Halal is actually the Director of Communication, Institution African Natural Resource Education and Compliance in South Africa, precisely Soweto. Thank you once again, Madam. And so the second speaker I would like to introduce is actually from North America. So it's a good thing that we have a bit of diversity. We have somebody from Africa and we have somebody joining us from North America. I am more than pleased and honored to have him on this panel session. I will give you a brief into his profile. He is, just a moment. He is an aeronautic engineer from the University of Aeronautics in Querétaro with an MSc on aerospace design by Centro de Enseñanza Técnica Y Superior Campus, Mexicali. He's also an innovation and entrepreneurship certificate holder from the Imperial London College with the specialization on additive manufacturing. He is the co-founder and engineering director of M Aerospace RTC and have been working for more than 5 years on the additive manufacture technology development and mixed reality technology space. Now, his previous works were as a design engineer at Collins Aerospace and also a structural engineer for Safran Aerospace Group. He has been participating on several international fora, giving the perspectives and challenges of disruptive technologies, including VR and AR, additive manufacturing on countries like Germany, China, United Kingdom, Mexico. Currently, his company has been nominated to the Entrepreneurship Prize for Innovation from Cisco. That's actually a very big one. And he has been invited to participate on Hanover Messe in Mexico called Industrial. called industrial transformation. I apologize, a bit of a technological hitch here. We experienced that a lot in Africa, sincerely apologies. Now, he has been in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce from the United Kingdom and has been involved on several addictive project developments through the manufacturing of technology centers, the National Library Center of the UNAM Madrid, and the Technology of Monterrey. He has also been nominated by the Mexican paper called El Economista as the Mexican Mitra, which stands for Young Star Entrepreneur Rising. He has been interviewed and rewarded. He has been interviewed and awarded by several organizations. He has won an award in California in August 2020. Of course, he is currently a participant on Forbes 30 under 30. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to make welcome our second guest for today, who happens to be the co-founder and engineering director of M Aerospace RTC. Very good to meet you, sir. So a lot of natural resources. I'll give you a simple example, oil and gas. Oil and gas is a natural resource. We export oil to the West, North America, to Europe, to Asia, and then they get to refine our oil into jet fuel, into diesel, kerosene, and so on, send it back to Africa, and then we get into the global communities.
Well, firstly, we have to have regulated and protection for the African natural resources. And that has created lots of global and local syndicates that basically go through the corrupt and criminal methods of taking some of the products from here. And on the surface, it seems that we may not necessarily be able to take care of that. But if we can curb the extractive, exploitative relation to continue to, from the resources are taken out of the country and being processed somewhere else. So we've got to be able to empower our youth with the skills that they need to have. And they should actually have more of that. And we should actually put policies in place that are going to protect the natural resources that we have in Africa. If we do not necessarily have that, we're going to be having a serious challenge in that way.
Okay. Thank you very much for your response to that question. The next question will be directed to Mr. Juan. You are in North America. North America is one of the most advanced continents in the world. So there's a lot of raw materials that are taken from Africa. Although you have never been to Africa, you are very familiar with what goes on around Africa. You know, it's Mother Continent, Mother Earth. In your opinion, how do you think Africa can make the best use of its natural resources? Because I tell you for a fact, if it were North America that had the kinds of resources Africa had, they would have been able to harness these natural resources to even be at better positions than where they are in right now. So in your opinion, how can Africa harness its natural resources for its people and for its economic prosperity?
Yeah, well, basically, yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, we import a lot of products from Africa currently, but I think that the gap that is missing right now is like Toba mentioned, that you need to imply some policies locally on your country to be able to have more regulations about how to import, export, basically the products, the raw material, and I think that it's something related more to the government side, that you need to establish like a Congress for all these raw materials that I think that has a lot of potential. I mean, I think that if you have like a great infrastructure about how to make the great logistics of how to develop a complete infrastructure about to how to export your products, but not on the, unfortunately, not on the illegal side. I mean, more on the legal side. I think that that will be very beneficial for you and all of you, because at the end, people will start paying like more taxes, and it will be all more like transparent, and that will keep the continuous growth of your country and of your region as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to take up on on the points that you have just made, Mr. Juan. Now you
Yeah.
have said that we should work more on our legal framework. So if we have a proper legal framework, we will be able to institute laws and regulation rules that bind some of these natural resources, people will be able to pay their taxes appropriately, and our economy will be influenced. Now, from your
Exactly.
perspective, coming from North America is a country that is big on laws and rules and regulations. Do you think the leaders in Africa, the policymakers, now I'm not talking about the legal side, I'm talking about the executives, the politicians, presidents, commissioners, ministries, do they have a large role to play when it comes to policy making? How can we possibly put our acts together and influence the right policies, across the continent?
At the end, I mean, it definitely should be your decision. You are the decision makers, but you can take as an example like the American policies that we have, either on the U.S. or either on the Latin American market, and try to take them. To your country. I mean, you obviously need to see which option will be the best for you because it will depend on the infrastructural exposition about which are your current needs and with that try to standardize and try to make the right policies for every country you have there.
Okay, the next question will be okay, thank you very much. Mr. Derek
Yeah.
Nzavi has just joined us. So very quickly, I would like to run through his profile. Thank you very much, Mr. Derek. It's good to have you here. So he's our very third speaker. We are glad that you could make time out to join us for this panel session. And to all our guests who are watching on YouTube, from Facebook, we are pleased to have you join us once again. So I'll quickly like to run through the third speaker's profile. His name is Derek Nzavani. He's an entrepreneurologist and a business consultant of note. Who started with assisting individuals to set up companies. Then he had a need to help those businesses grow, arise, and had used his business management skills to assist a lot of businesses that he set up in the past. Now, Derek Nzavi, as affectionately known by many, is the CEO of New Discovery BS, a company and enterprise development which is based in Johannesburg, South Africa. He's an accredited business advisor with the Institute of Business Advisors South Africa, a SETA, SETA trained facilitator and assessor. He has mentorship advisory experience of more than 2 decades, precisely 20 years. The last company he worked for was Discovery Health, which inspired him to start his new Discovery BS. Now he works with small businesses across various organizations and various levels in development, planning, strategy, which were aimed at advancing entrepreneurship across Southern Africa and, of course, the entire continent of Africa. Derek Nzavi has developed an APP. An APP is an app which connects mentors, advisors, experts with entrepreneurs and is found on Google Play. So you all should download that app. Now, the app was motivated by a need to engage with over 300,000 social media platforms, people who are following him on social media. He's the founder of Mentors Without Borders, which offers free mentorship, advisory services, and enterprise development programs in partnership and collaboration with governments, institutions, private sectors. Now, the foundation that is owned by Mr. Derek Nzavi has a pool of mentors who offer their services at no cost to entrepreneurs. I would also like to add that Derek Nzavi is often booked to speak at seminars, institutions of learning. He addresses students on entrepreneurship and so many other developmental agenda. He is an adjudicator and a judge for entrepreneur speaking sessions, helping business organizations make the right decision on the prize winners. Now, I would finally like to conclude by saying that he is the author of 2 books. These books are Business Tips to My Daughter and Business Tips to My Son. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished speakers, I would like to make welcome the top speaker for today, the CEO of New Discovery BS South Africa, Mr. Derek Nzabi. It's great to have you here. Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here, Rufai, and looking forward to great engagement.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Derek Nzabi, before you join the panel, Mr. Juan from Mexico, North America, and of course, Ms. Tobarana was talking extensively about natural resource management in Africa. From your perspective, like I mentioned earlier, Africa has abundance of natural resources, from solar, which is sunlight for solar energy, to water for hydro energy. I would also like to add that we have the highest number of vast land resources in Tanzania, in the whole world, and of course in Africa, in the whole of on the entire continent of the world. Now, my question directly to you is: with all of these natural resources that Africa has, why are we resource cost? Why do we still run to the West for aid? Why do countries and continents in the West who do not have half the resources Africa has become richer than Africa? Why do we depend on them decades after decades without maximizing our resources?
Friendship with your answer will be solved in my response. So, however, I strongly believe that in as much as Africa has been dependent on the West, but we are seeing a shift when it comes to the language, because it starts with how do we talk about these things. You would recall that I think it was a day before or this week where Ghana has come forward and said we're not going to send cocoa anymore to Switzerland to produce chocolates. We are going to produce our own chocolates here, and but now the question would be how willing are we to deal with corruption that Africa is known for? Because these are the things that it's not that Africa could not have developed 60 years, 100 years ago, but the issue of governance, corporate governance, and governance within the structures that we are having in place. And you might have seen in Morocco where I don't know. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. You might have seen what happened in Morocco, where Morocco now has got solar system, its own solar
Yes,
system, solar plant that is producing 35% of the country. So now we have to ask ourselves and say, in as much as South Africa now is shifting towards developing its own systems and its own processes, are we importing all our resources in terms of all the expertise that we have given to the world? The Ferrari guy who is now chief engineer of Ferrari, I will bring him back home to say, how do we develop our cars in Africa? So I think now that we are positioned in terms of understanding what our resources are, understanding our oil refinery, what we can look for as Africa is to say, how do we repatriate all the literate, the educated, the skills that we have all over to come and assist us. But when they come, can we not teach them corruption? Can we welcome them as individuals who will take us, who will usher Africa into opportunities and making sure that we exploit or we make use of our resources using their expertise without forcing them to be involved in corruption. So I think this is what Africa now, it's about the question of leadership. How do we now address leadership that will be able to lead the initiatives that now are taken by our governments for us to exit and be able to be independent as Africa?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Nzavi, for this very explicit context you have provided. You have said very categorically that Ghana is saying they will no longer import chocolates, they will have to use their cocoa in farm countries to produce chocolates and of course export to the world. Ghana is taking the lead. A lot of other countries are equally taking the lead. You see in South Africa, South Africa is currently really big on wind energy. It is quite amazing. But the next question I would like to ask will be directed to Mr. Juan. Juan from North America, Mexico precisely. If you're looking at Africa and then you're looking at natural resources in Africa, if you were to speak to an investor from a perspective of a layman, so to speak, who has never been to Africa, but from the things you hear and from the things you see about Africa, what is most striking? What areas would you ask someone to invest in on the continent? Would it be oil and gas? Would it be rubber? Would it be cotton? Would it be palm kernel? Let's just get your own perspective on that aspect.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a very interesting because if you asked me that question probably 10 years ago, I definitely will probably tell you about the oil industry. But I mean, we're looking at the world more sustainability. So we're looking at new energies right now, actually. So actually, oil and gas, I don't think that is the future right now. So we're looking at a more sustainable future with clean technologies. So definitely the oil and gas, it will not be something to invest at this part of the time. But I see a lot of like raw materials. I see Africa like a country that can produce like a metals development. Like there's a huge market right now for powders development, but that usually is it's involved like Natsir it's telling that you should change the language and the cultural barriers that we currently have, because as an American it will be very hard to go to Africa and to start dealing with some new people if they don't even have the knowledge over language. So I think that it's very critical for you to be able to start making business with other peoples. I mean, chocolate it's a big industry. I mean, everyone probably love chocolate, but in able to manage the exportations right now, I mean, you need to cross the barriers, the cultural barriers and the language barriers, to be able to be going to make an investment. Actually, if I remember well, probably last year when I was trying to go to Africa, it was very hard to get to Rwanda. Actually, I was trying to get to that, and when I started looking at flights, I mean, definitely it's something that you need to still manage about the logistics, the transportation. In able to make a decision about investing, I need to first go and see where my money will be put in. And the other concern that we were having is about the banking. It was something very hard to get money onto your side of the world. So I think that it was very interesting, because if I even have the money to invest on your country, you need to regulate all the transactions and all that, to be able to be ready for an investment. And like Nasir was telling, if we don't keep the barrier away of the corruption, I mean, I need to make sure that my money will be on a safe place, and that it will be used for what it was supposed to be used, and not go to the packets of your leaders, right? So
Thank you very much, Mr. Juan. You've made very, very profound points here, and I'd like to pick up from everything you said. My next question is to Toba. Toba, now if you're looking at Africa, I did mention yesterday during the session that it is more expensive for me to travel from Nigeria to Angola than it is for me to travel from Nigeria to any country in Western Europe, whether Germany, whether Scotland, anywhere in Western Europe. It's more expensive to travel within Africa than it is to travel to Western Europe. So the question now is, in terms of connectivity and infrastructure, Africa lacks a lot of that. Africa has made so much of monies over the years from natural resources. I give you a typical example. Angola and Nigeria are the biggest oil producers, and oil producing has been the mainstay of Africa's economy over the years. The question directly now is, what can we possibly do to fix our infrastructure? Because if our infrastructures are fixed, if our infrastructure is put together, properly fixed, trade would be easier. We would be able to trade with each other, would be able to get more investors from the West, would be able to do business intra-country. So from your perspective, how do we impact on our structures? How do we improve on our infrastructure? Toba.
Yeah, infrastructure, so that you can unlock the potential to process the raw mineral for beneficiary to happen. And we need to be able to speak to the outer trade, that we should actually have more regular interaction. And like Juan was saying, we need to meet on a regular basis and from one basket of Africa, and how we can disseminate those powers into the strengths that other countries have in Africa, whereby we can have an interchange instead of exporting stuff. Just like Derek was saying, that Ghana has decided to keep its beans. But then the most important thing is, do we have the skill to do what the Swedes were doing with the cocoa beans? That is what we require to do. We need to empower our youth. We need to be technically knowledgeable. We need to know how to run these industries. And I do not necessarily see much of a challenge if we address those. But most importantly, we need to impart knowledge. We need to empower skills, and we need to get into the technical side of things for us to be able to move forward.
Okay, thank you very much. You need to be able to get into the technical side of things for us to be able to move forward. My next question is to Mr. Derek. So you're from South Africa. South Africa happens to be one of the advanced nations on the continent of Africa. Now, from your perspective, you have served a lot of organizations, both private sector and public sector driven. When you look at intra-African trade, we now have the AfCFTA, that's the African Free Continental Trade Area. The initiative was put together by Afreximbank and, of course, governments of Africa for us to be able to move goods and services from one place to another without so much of cumbersomeness, if there's a word like that, make trade and all its processes very lean. But from the look of AfCFTA, it seems as though so many countries are not ready. And when I say so many countries are not ready, I specifically heard the African Export-Import Bank say countries who are not ready will be left behind. And what I mean by that is countries need to produce. If you have nothing to produce, then you have nothing to export to another country. With all of these natural resources that we have, with all of this abundance of raw materials, how can we possibly maximize AfCFTA? When I talk about maximizing, I'm saying every country on the continent of Africa. Can we at least produce something that we can ship to other countries across the continent so we can gain more money and, of course, make more effect?
Thanks, Wilfred. To answer that question, I believe that Africa is ready for any intertrade, intercontinental, and all that. But the red tape here is within the government. If the government can understand that they can develop policies, but they cannot drive them, they should allow entrepreneurs, they should allow your people that are in business to run these programs. This is not a DG story, a director general within the office who will come up with a policy and then say, you know what, we're going to implement this. Because if we go by that, we're going to take another 20 years, 30 years to implement, because a DG can be fired in the following year or 2 years down the line. And we'll be stuck with a simple thing. I'll give you an example with South Africa. We are stuck with a simple migration from digital to from analog to digital. Why is that? Because the policies are driven by the government, not driven by the entrepreneurs, not driven by private sector. So for Africa to see their policies realized, is to allow entrepreneurs, is to allow your Dangote of this world, is to allow Petrus Mutsip of this world, who understand the business, to say, you know what, guys, I will call upon our own team of entrepreneurs who are faced with the challenges on the ground, who understand what are the challenges, and then you have the category of small businesses that are producing the actual product from the ground. Because if we don't do that, we're going to rely on the government at a high level, diplomacy and all that, we might be stuck. But if we allow openness where the small businesses on the ground, like in the US or any country where they are the drivers of the economy, driving the economy is not about selling a product and getting money. It's about influencing the policies and seeing to it that the policies that you are suggesting and proposing, there are changes to that effect. But when you look at South Africa or any other countries in Africa, you will find that the policies are not driven by the people that are affecting, but they are driven by politicians who will change after 5 years. And from there, an entrepreneur is going to be there for life because that is the business they are selling. But a politician will be there for 5 years and the new term comes in, the new politician comes and wants to change the rules. So if we can allow the small businesses and the entrepreneurs to be part of the decision making.
Okay, thank you very much. My next question will be directed to Joan from Mexico. The question to Joan is, a lot of Africans and African institutions look at the West as being very exploitative. And what I mean by that is they come to Africa, take a lot of our natural resources, process these natural resources, sell them to the world and sell them back to Africa at even more expensive rates. Now, that narrative, to a reasonable extent, is very true. Very true in the sense that I give you a typical example with crude. A lot of resources that are made from raw crude are sold to Africa at even more expensive value. The question for you directly now is, do you think there is room for collaboration instead of exploitation, possible exploitation or even competition? I'll expatiate further on that question. So we see a lot of companies sending their staff to China for training. We see a lot of companies in China sending their staff to the USA for training. I've seen so many people from Mexico traveling to Europe for training. Is there possible way we can collaborate with the private sector, people like yourself, entrepreneurs like Derek from, other parts of the world, Western societies, large scale organizations, angle investors? Can we be a bit more collaborative than being exploitative? Is Africa ready for that? Are we fit to collaborate?
Yeah, and that's also a great question. I mean, definitely, when talking about investment, what an investor is looking is obviously a return of his investment, right? So, in order to accomplish this, I mean, regulations must have been took in place. I mean, they have to be ready for the investment. I think that Africa has everything to be able to receive the investment, but as I was mentioning previously, you still need to develop an infrastructure to be able to get that, also a banking account system for to be able to be going to place that. And actually, the exploitation of your research also happens here in Mexico. I mean, we have a lot of oil here in Mexico. We usually send the oil to the US, and then the US give it back to us, and it's more costly. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. But at the end, it's because even for our own government, I mean, our own government has some people that are on these new other companies, and they obviously get the money from that transaction. So actually, it happens all actually in almost every country. It's not only you guys. So I think that it will be hard, to be honest, to get to remove that people from the power, and basically to implement. But obviously, there's always opportunities for new companies, because at the end, companies are made to create profit. And I'm looking, like I was mentioning, we definitely should take a look on new products. And by products, I mean product services. We should take in consideration what are your current needs, actually, and not to just transform a regular product. We need to think further about the electrical resources. I was talking at the beginning about the electric planes. So I think that this is something that actually Africa can really be beneficial with that, because you will at least use our natural resource, which is energy, which is solar power, which I think that you have a lot of that in your country, in your area. And if you start developing small startups about how to become more efficient on the energy and how to produce electric planes, that's something that investors are willing to put their money on it. And also it will collaborate you in your infrastructure, because it will be more easy to transfer from Uganda to Rwanda or even to Angola, and you will have a continent which will be more connected, and at the same time you will be generating resources, and you will stop like losing money from importing and exporting something that, I mean, we will have oil probably for the next 10 to 15 years, but you need to start thinking more about the next 50 years if you want to really stamp up, and basically to start revolutionizing your country, and to countries like Mexico to start looking at Africa as an investment opportunity.
Thank you very much, Juan. Toba, the next question will be directed to you, and I'd like you to pay, very close attention to this narrative before I put forward the question. So, when you look at countries in Asia, China is gradually becoming a world power after the USA. US's biggest competition right now is China. How did China grow to become such a competition to the USA? It's from manufacturing. Majority of the products that are used in the world right now are manufactured by China. Now, no country in the world can flourish if their manufacturing sector is not enhanced. Every country thrives on trade. Trade is the force that unites the entire world. Trade is the force that drives the economy of any country. So when you look at the manufacturing sector, I bring you to the issue of electricity. I was on this webinar yesterday. Of course, the generators were on standby. My electricity was on, but at some point in time, the lights went off. But I just had to keep going. Now, electricity is a concurrent problem that we face in Africa. Even if we're able to manufacture a lot of goods, these things are perishable. If we do not have the right electricity for storage, these things cannot stand the test of time. Sub-Saharan Africa, where I come from, precisely in Nigeria, the quantity of electricity we generate and transmit is very, very low. Our continent is referred to as a dark continent. But gradually, of course, we are seeing the light. Mr. Jerry had referred to Morocco. Morocco is generating more than 60 watts of electricity. South Africa is equally doing very well in terms of electricity generation. Talk more of Kenya and so many other countries. I don't want to be very specific on North Africa. I want to be more specific on Sub-Saharan Africa. The question directly now is, Joanne has spoken very extensively about infrastructure. We need to fix our payment system. We need to fix our banks. We need to fix our roads, our rails, our ports. For electricity, Toba, do you see Africa advancing without fixing its power situation? How far can we go without power? Because a continent without electricity cannot do so much. So, in your perspective, what can we do about power in terms of harnessing our natural resources?
There's a lot of talk about solar because that's a natural product, and that's one resource that we look into very seriously. Because right now, if at all you are solar powered and with the beautiful weather that you asked me when we started, I don't have any panic at all. Sustainable, so anything that can make you go. But that goes back to the whole support to empower the youth and all. One, we need to mineral locally and to empower our youth with relevant skills and to invest in technology that can be able to move between the continents, information that can move easily, across over. And the electrical power, but I believe that solar is one of our strongholds to be able to. I know that in the farms, there's a lady who produces down. So those are the things that we need to learn from the agricultural point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Toba. Mr. Jerry Kunzavi, I would like to contribute to this particular subject. Okay, Madam Toba, you're breaking. You are breaking. Your internet connectivity is it's a bit distorted. So I'll just move to Mr. Derek Nzavi. Mr. Derek Nzavi, the subject right now is about electricity. A continent without adequate power infrastructure cannot do so much. Yes, we are taking the lead way. We are making a lot of improvements. We are not the way we used to be, but we are still not there when it comes to power infrastructure, power generation. From your perspective as a seasoned entrepreneur, for power, what is your advice? What are your comments? Where do you see Africa going with its power situation, especially sub-Saharan Africa, West Africa, where I come from? On mute, on mute, on mute, on mute, on mute. Mr. Jerry, unmute your microphone.
Doing that, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I think when it comes to Africa, I was analyzing Nigeria as to what could be the problem with Nigeria. You need to understand that the same with the US, you cannot come and say, we're going to get rid of oil by 2030, and then we're going to have electric cars. But you can say that in the UK, because the same with Nigeria. If you look at the problem that Nigeria is sitting with today, it's because the government officials were pushing for the use of oil because they know your generators will run on oil, every day. So unfortunately, because those were selfish ambitions and selfish forecast of the economy, it's now biting on us. The same with South Africa. We're talking about now, we are on load shedding. And how do we expect Africa to develop if we cannot have the basic fundamental when it comes to producing? I'll give you an example. If Ghana says they want to produce their own, let's say, chocolate or whatever the case might be, how sustainable is our power as a country? And unless we deal with the leadership challenges, even if we can have solar system, Johan said we have a good opportunity for solar. even if we can have solar system plant in Africa, but if the leadership crisis is not dealt with, we're going to have a situation where solar goes to one village of one of the minister and goes to another village of another minister, and that's it. And the majority of the population are not covered. So for me, I think the challenges of Africa in terms of making sure that we bring balance in how we supply and how we make sure that the resources are available, it starts with our leadership mindset. If we can deal with that part, if we can deal with a situation where we will have accountability, where we won't have a president who may not be seen for a week and nobody tells us where is this president, what's happening. So these are the realities. And if you look at what happened in the US, I don't know if you follow the story, where I think it's one of the states, in one of the county, where when the storm hit, there was a blackout. What happened next? The whole team was fired. You see, so there's no accountability. In South Africa, we're sitting with load shedding, but who's fired? No one. And guess what? Come year end, they still take bonuses. Yet we are sitting with a serious problem. So it's about the leadership, no cronies, no favoritism, but understanding that what is the policy, also policies that guide us towards what we are trying to pursue. That is very key. So if South Africa, Africa so can strengthen its policies and make sure that the policies transcend from political parties into governance. And when it comes to governance, it's not about who's right, who's wrong. It's about to say, is this policy fair enough for the country development? That is what can take us forward.
Okay, thank you. My next question is to Joan Munguia. Now, if you look at countries in Asia were able to employ agriculture to move themselves from, a people on the brink of starvation into producing people. I give you a typical example, India. India is a country that totally depended on the US for imports. But at some point in time, India was able to establish itself as a country that exports agricultural products. A country on the brink of starvation, a country on the brink of collapse has now become one of the fastest developing economies in the world. Now, I'll trickle it down to Mexico, where you come from. I have never been to Mexico, but I follow Mexico very closely. Mexico is big on agriculture. Mexico is big on farming. Mexico is quite big on, exploiting their natural resources to supply to the entire world. If we look at Africa, we do not have available infrastructure to embark on, you know, mechanized farming. The kinds of farming systems that are practiced right here on the continent are subsidized farming, very subsistent. People still farm with hoes. We don't harvest products in large quantities for supply. And most times, Joan, even when these products are harvested in large quantities and exported to the West, precisely to Europe, these products are returned back to us because sometimes they don't measure up with the basic expectations that are required of exportable products. I give you a typical example. Nigeria once exported beans, and these beans were returned back to Nigeria because the moisture content was way too much, way more than what was expected. So my question directly to you is, in terms of agriculture, agriculture is a natural resource that can help Africa. Africa has abundance of land. What is your advice from the perspective of North America, from the perspective of someone who is coming from a country that is big on agriculture? How can we possibly harness the potentials we have with our lands, our livestock, and of course our produce?
Yeah, well, I think that the best way to get to that place is basically by training people. I mean, you need to establish basically a system, an educational system about first to go lower on your prices to make the investment attractive, and that will take some time because when companies start looking at Africa, they should start looking at the low cost, like you were mentioning, like India, like China was doing it, and start to develop the people, and then try to apply all the knowledge, all the science from the other countries into your own systems, right? So, and I think that agriculture is a great system. I mean, you can start using like the hydroponic systems, which is something that you could be very beneficiate, and start looking looking at the technologies worldwide. I mean, and even just make one import to your country, and then you need to try to do the reverse engineering to start creating your own systems. But that definitely will take some time. You will definitely need to train people about and on expertise about new renewable energies. But sure, I mean, you need to establish the complete supply chain in-house to be able to start growing your economy.
Okay, thank you. So you have talked about expertise. In essence, I would suffice to say that Africa needs to expand on its expertise. We need to train our people, we need to retrain our people, and we need to have the right skill set to be able to implement on these projects. Capability is very key from what you said. Okay, Derek has spoken very extensively on accountability, transparency, the ability to hold people responsible for their decisions. In Africa, a lot of things go wrong and nobody is fired. A lot of things go wrong and nobody is held accountable. So my question to you, Madam Toba, now if you look at the continent of Africa with all that goes on in here, what would be your advice to policymakers in terms of accountability, in terms of transparency? Because if we become an accountable continent, if we have countries who are transparent, I think people would be more excited to do business with us. People want to invest in countries where they are sure that their monies are safe. I'm not saying that so many other countries in the world are not corrupt, but if you look at the World Corruption Index, a lot of countries in Africa rank really high. A lot of countries in Africa are like leading when it comes to, World Corruption Index. So from your perspective, in your opinion, how can we possibly work on our transparency initiatives, work on our transparency projects? How can we become more accountable to the people in order for the world to see us as being serious and ready to do business, especially with the AFCFTA? Your answer, Madam Toba.
Platforms like these, like the FAFEC platform, should set up a minimum standard to lobby and influence sustainable financial support to protect responsible and sustainable exploitation of African resources. And I have a criminal court for political crime. Why should it be in exclusion of criminal court for commercial crimes? So we should actually have accountability. It's very important and it's very crucial. We should actually have more campaign traits that they can actually embrace. And they should not only apply locally, but they should be doing it in Mexico, and it is wrong to be compounded. It should not just be a similar, movement of individuals that would be wanting to do what they best think suits them alone and forgetting the interest of the country. That is my main point, that we should actually have accountability and we should have agreements with bodies that embrace and harness and proclaim that they do have an interest of growing the produce in the African continent.
Okay, I have a question for Derek Nzabi from Facebook. And the question here is saying, Derek Nzabi from South Africa, is Africa ready to invest on heavy technological equipment? Or do investors still need to invest in agriculture? What are the basic needs of the people? Not sure this question is straightforward, but I'll take it as it comes. And he's also saying, what would the impact of agriculture? Okay, I'll summarize it this way. So, to Mr. Jerry Kanzavi from South Africa, this is from Facebook, the question says, what would be the impact of agriculture on the development of Africa if we invest on heavy technology and mechanized farming?
Thank you for the question and thank you for the Facebook listener. The reality is that the question would be, is Africa tech ready? Are we ready to invest in technology as Africa? I feel strongly that we may be ready, but there's that fear that we might lose jobs, especially when it comes to people are depending on their farming jobs, agriculture job and all that. But so far, I would say that as Africa, we do have that technology. We do have that tech that we can employ. Yes, not all African countries that may have that. And when you look at agriculture and technology, we need to understand that it's not about your normal farming that we can look at. We need to look at biotechnology. We need to look at a biodome kind of approach. We need to look at developing your spinach without water. You know, all these things. This is the technology we are talking about. But now the question would be, are we ready to transcend, or for them to have that
activities? Just your perspective on that.
Yeah, I will explain. I mean, we're in right now in the position about not using our planet that way. I mean, we're definitely moving to other things that doesn't require like the extraction at the moment. But in terms, I mean, I understand that they want to grow your economy. And yeah, I'm sure that you are capable of doing so. At the end, is quite not. I mean, it's not really hard to get that. It's just like machinery. Very costly in terms about the costing, and but I think that you're ready for doing so. I mean, as a short-term solution, I think that this is something viable, but I keep saying that you should take a look at the new technologies and try to push your thinking further, right? So try don't mess up with the earth and with the resources. Try to use what you already have, like solar, like water, with that systems, right?
Thank you very much. Very quickly, Madam Toba, what areas, what regions in Africa do you see potentials for investments right now? There's a whole lot of countries in Africa, but there are certain specific places I could speak to an investor to invest in. I could mention a handful of them, but for you, mention 5 countries in Africa where you see possible potentials for investments in 2021, probably post-COVID, in a post-COVID world. Okay, the question is directed to Madam Choba, but I think she's having a bit of connectivity issue. These are some of the problems we talk about. Our internet connectivity in this part of the world can be very poor sometimes. And I do hope that the telecommunication system is really advanced, in the next couple of years. We really can't survive without technology. Madam Choba, please go ahead. Tell us about 5 areas or 5 regions in Africa where you think investors should be looking at if they're investing in Africa. I could easily say South Africa, I could say Nigeria, I'm from Nigeria, I could easily say Ghana, I could easily say Algeria, and so on and so forth. But for you, 5 specific regions and the reasons why you think investors should look at these areas in Africa.
Still start with South Africa. I would still include Angola because of the resources that are basically neglected and almost out of distinct. It's Malawi, and Malawi have great lakes, and there's a great opportunity there. And we could actually go all the way up to Ghana. And my 5th one would naturally be DRC.
Okay, Madam Soba, I don't know if anybody can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay. Let's take your comments in that regard, and then I'll take that of one. What areas, what regions do you think investors should be looking at in the post-COVID world? Because, like I did say, Africa is the new market, is the new niche.
A question for me.
Derry, did you get my question?
Oh, me. I think for me, when you look at Africa, we have to be not biased, but also this will allow us to speed up the collaborations and speed up the inter-trade agreement. And whether we like it or not, or try, let's agree that in as much as we may think that Africa is not working together, if you look at most of the South Africans, they have mining interest in DRC. And when you look at most of the Africans, the South Africans, they have interest in a Nigerian market where you even have your big retailers that are there, your MTNs and all that. So, but for me, in terms of which countries could be ready when it comes to connectivity, where you know that investors won't battle because now traveling will not be there. It has to be an issue of how do we now do trade where I don't have to travel to any country. And if you look at those countries, you've got Kenya, you've got Rwanda, and you've got these countries that are developing, but also the impediment here could be the economic, the political instability that we may be faced with. So we can say that in as much as you want to pick up any country, but it is kind of difficult to find a country that would say it's balanced in how everything is happening. Good as South Africa may be, we are known for the record of corruption, we are known of all these things. So all that we need to do is to say, as Africa, what confidence do we give to our investors? And do we say to investors, this is what we, so from the intertrade point of view, I believe that the intertrade is the one that can come up with one policy and say every country in Africa will be guided by this economic policy. And that will assist us so that the investor, when they go through our manual as Africa, they will not spot out the weakness and the challenge that we have as individuals, but they can say, agree on these 10 key fundamentals in investing in Africa, such that any country that will violate this fundamental can be protected by AU, can be protected by any other institute that could be set up to deal with that. So let's not only look at policies, let's look at how do we set up the white collar crime court that will deal with any country or anyone that would violate the 10 key principles that Africa can set and say these are the investor principles that we can sell to investors so that investors can have confidence in Africa. And from the policy point of view, for us to invest in. And I believe that that can assist us in terms of attracting the investors into Africa and making sure that we grow the economy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Derek. My next question to Mr. Juan. So when you look at tech startups in Nigeria, yesterday we had a conversation with, a gentleman from Ghana who is doing so much with the Ghanaian innovation and tech industry. So my question directly to you is there's light at the end of the tunnel. If you see what African Development Bank is doing, we get to see what African Export Bank is doing, African Finance Corporation, there's a whole lot of collaboration going on. A lot of people are beginning to, start conversations about Africa. The current Director General of the WTO, World Trade Organization, is an African. So Africans are becoming very prominent on the world scene. The world is looking to do business with Africa. From your perspective, how do you think we can sustain this momentum? How do you think for 2021, 2022, in a post COVID world, we can harness all of these attractions from these countries all over the world to advance our cause as Africans?
Yeah, so the pandemic gave us a lot of reflections about that the world wasn't ready for a pandemic. And I think that that's an opportunity for new ideas, for new solutions, for new startups to start emerging. So I'm looking at a world with more medical devices. So I think that a sector that you should be taking a look is on the medical, on the healthcare division, to start implementing like new regulations as well for that specific sector. But most of the sectors, I think that after the recession that we globally have, I think that there's a huge opportunity because probably, for example, the U.S. is looking for new suppliers. I mean, they are looking for new countries to be involved and not depend on China. So I think that there's a huge opportunity market for you to stand up really, but you need to be willing willing to share your knowledge, your resources to other countries. But as I mentioned, all needs to be planned from the beginning. That which will be the time frame for you for your development to be ready to have people ready for train and to start developing all these roadmap that will take you to the next level.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So the next question would be to Mr. Derek Labi. If you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
This is okay. Thank you very much. So I have a question directly from my. The question directly from my Twitter page here is saying that Mr. Derek Nzavi, what are your positive comments about Africa? Highlight any 5 positive things you think could attract investments and investors into the continent. 5 positive.
Yeah, in a positive way and from a positive note, irrespective of whatever challenges, I believe that number one, Africa is very hospitable. So as an investor, when you come to Africa, you feel welcomed and you feel at home, and you can invest with confidence and knowing that you're at home. Number two, I believe that African leaders are warming up, and as we can see, the rise of African leaders into prominent positions in the world. So African leaders are warming up into governance, into making sure that they have some form of sustainability, they have some form of corporate governance in place, they have some form of making sure that we have that governance. And also, I strongly believe that tourism plays a big role in Africa, where when you do business in Africa in the space of tourism, there are a lot of revenues there because you'll find that most of the countries, they have a lot of infrastructures that one can look at. But also, yeah, we can say that it's a place spot for investors. And the other one that I believe that strongly is that we are a great opportunity for solar energy. Yes, most of these initiatives that come in Africa, they come from the young entrepreneurs, meaning that if you invest in Africa now on the business that is run by a young entrepreneur, the chances of your business growing, because this person is got so many lives ahead, and so you will have that opportunity to grow. And lastly, the integrated approach that Africa has come up with, where we have your Africa coming together in terms of making sure that the financial sector comes together and the inter-trade agreements are coming together. So meaning that when you have an agreement with one country in Africa, you will benefit from the inter-trade agreements that Africa as a whole is having. So you won't have to sign multiple kind of MOUs with different companies. It's the same as I step into EU, knowing that there's a governance, there's all that. So you step into Africa, inter-trade agreement is there, so you are covered and you'll be protected in terms of investment.
Very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Derek. The same question to Joan and Toba, and then we'll call it a day on today's session. So, Toba, 5 positive things about Africa and why people should invest in Africa. Same question to Mr. Joan, 5 positive things you think Africa possesses and why people should invest in Africa. So we'll begin with Toba and then we move to Joan. Thank you.
Well, Africa has a youthful population that needs to be empowered with knowledge, and they become the future. And to just add on to what Derek said, yes, we are a very warm country, and we're very progressive as people. And you can't find hatred amongst us. We're always looking for progress and moving forward. And also, we are ready to have and look positively into investment in skills and infrastructure. And also, we have a very huge population of women who are great participants and who need to be incorporated into the industry and have the ability for women to participate in technology. And also invest especially to technology that could help processing of raw materials. So there are ample opportunities that should actually come through. And skill sharing is very important as well. Thank you.
You're on mute.
Positivity for Africa. 5 things you think are positive about the continent, although you've never been here.
Yeah. So basically, well, Africa needs connectors, right? Like I was telling earlier, like probably a good investment right now is invest on roads, on ports, on airports, on power grids. So I think that's a huge opportunity for you to be able to keep growing. Also, I see the digital transformation as an opportunity. I think that the world now, I mean, right now we're on something technological. I mean, a platform like Zoom that can connect like every places. So I think that Africa has a lot of opportunities for investment on the digital transformation. Also, I think that Africa is very diversifying. We mentioned about new energies going on there. So I think that going on the early stage of a new resources is very interesting. So I see a lot of opportunities for investors to go to Africa for recognizing like new technologies and new renewable energies. But that will also require some investment promotion agencies. And other point that I think that Africa really can lead a sustainability development, which involves the use of new energies, of new technologies, of a complete supply chain. And so basically, I think that all these points can be put together, and it will be very attractive for investors if you have the right policies and the right infrastructure to do that.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Juan Mungua. Thank you very kindly, Mr. Nzavi Derek. Thank you very kindly, Madam Toba Carl Hala. So they have been our speakers for today's virtual African Forum of Economics, Finance, and Compliance. It's a series of events which will run for 5 days. It started yesterday, Monday, and of course, it's ongoing until Friday, the 19th day of March, 2021. For this series of days, we've been talking about the best methods, the best perspectives, the best ways Africa could grow, the best ways we could develop our continent. And we've had, an array of experts from different countries. If there's one thing I'm very grateful to FAFEC is the fact that FAFEC has been able to merge different speakers from different countries, different speakers from different continents. Yesterday, we had people from United Arab Emirates, we had people from South Africa, we had a speaker from Nigeria, and of course, today we have a speaker from Mexico, two speakers from South Africa. Thank you so much, FAFEC, for putting a platform together that seeks to grow and develop the continent. The session will continue tomorrow, and of course, tomorrow will still be focused on finance and natural resources, but we'll be taking it from a different perspective. And we'll be culminating on Thursday for the virtual forum. On Thursday, we'll be talking about the oil, gas, and energy sector, how we can possibly harness the potentials that are inherent in this sector. Once again, before I say goodbye to my guests, I would like to reiterate that Juan Carlos Mungua is the co-founder engineering director at M Aerospace RTC, North America, Mexico. Toba Hala is the director of communication, Institution of African Natural Resource Education and Compliance, South Africa. Nzavi Derek is the CEO, New Discoveries BS, South Africa. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you so much to the people behind the scenes. Thank you to the entire team of FAFEC who have been able to put this tirelessly in the past few months. It has become a success. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. The pleasure is absolutely mine. My name is Wafai Samuel. Thank you once again, and goodbye for now. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.